Hello, I'm going to be doing a video today about making pie crust. So we're going to get started. I use this. This is a 2-gallon bag, like a Ziploc bag, and I just cut out a circle and use that as my guide. I've used a pastry cloth. Some people just use the counter. This I like. It's round. It kind of gives me a good guide. And it sticks to the counter just by getting a little bit of water. And I rub that onto the counter. And then smooth this out, and then that will be my rolling surface once we're ready to do that. So that keeps it from moving around, and we're good with that. Alright, and I've already mixed up, I've got flour, salt, and Crisco in here. And what we're going to do is cut in the fat. So I coat the Crisco with the flour just so it doesn't stick as much to my fork as I do it. So each time I cut it, make sure that I coat it in flour again so it doesn't stick as much. And once we've got some large chunks, I'm going to switch over to a pastry cutter. I'll finish cutting in the Crisco until I've got smaller chunks of the Crisco. Will be about pea-sized. Just want to make sure we get it all incorporated. We're getting close. Okay. Now we're going to add ice water. This is going to make 2 crusts. So you could use it for a 2-crust pie like a fruit pie, or do 2 single crusts. And you work it in, and it kind of looks like, how is this ever going to come together? It's so dry. But you just keep working it in. Then we're going to switch over and use our hands. And sometimes the water's a little tricky. Depending on the humidity in the air, you might have to add some more water to get it to the right consistency. So we're going to feel with our hands and see how that works. We're going to incorporate all that dry stuff. I'm going to pick up more dry stuff each time. This is feeling pretty good. We've got some more to go. We've got a pretty clean bowl here now. I'll work it in a little bit more. Then we're going to divide it in half, and we're going to weigh it, because you want to have, if you eyeball it, sometimes you get it right, sometimes not. So it's safest to weigh it out. Make sure you have even amounts that you're working with. All right, perfect. Okay, now we're going to form our pie dough. So we're going to put some flour onto that plastic bag that I had earlier. Flour my hands. You kind of squeeze it. What you're going to do is you're going to make a disc. And as you're forming this, you want to make sure that around the edges that it's all smooth. If you have a spot that isn't smooth and it's cracked like that, when you're rolling it out, it's going to crack, and that's not going to work well when you want to transfer it to a pie plate. So the edges look good there. I'm going to put it down. I'm going to form a disc like so and flatten it out. You want it even so that as you're rolling it out, it's going to be even. There's some more flour down there. Flour on top. Flour my rolling pin. I go about 4 times back and forth and then rotate. You can see I've got these sides here that are fatter and taller than the others. We're going to get that even. Okay, this time we need to put a little bit more flour underneath, so just pick up the whole disc, put it down, and a little bit more flour on top. And flour your rolling pin again. If it gets stuck and tears, pie crust is hard to repair. So you do want to make sure it is doable, but just kind of going out from the center and going around and trying to get that round shape. Sure it's even. You can feel over it, and I can feel that there are high spots and low spots, and we want to try and get that even, so we have an even pie crust once it goes into our pan. Okay, so I'll show you this spot here. Now if I lift this up, there's potential for that tearing, where I've got this here. So what you can do if you have enough is just go ahead and tear that off, and then that heavy part isn't there to weigh it down and pull it off. Now I'm going to transfer this to my pie plate, and the way I do it is I fold it. Some people put it onto their rolling pin and then transfer it. I like to fold it into half, lift underneath, put it halfway in the pan, and over. Then what you're going to do is press it against the sides. Nice and tight, otherwise you're going to get air bubbles. You don't want air bubbles in a pie crust. Make sure that's up against your sides and on the bottom. You don't have any air bubbles. And then we trim the edges. And you want to leave a little bit, you go out a little more than your pie plate, a little larger than what the pie plate is, to leave room for crimping. And you can use kitchen scissors like I've got, or you can use a butter knife and just kind of go around the edges. But you can see I left a little bit around the edges so that I have space to do my crimping. So for the crimping, I'm going to pinch. I'm kind of folding it under like this. It gives us a nice clean look. So we pinch this together, make sure everything's really tight, pinch again. I'm going to push it out to the edges, and then the crimping. So it's going to go all the way around the pie plate like so. So what I'm doing here is I'm forming a space for my knuckle to fit in between my thumb and index finger on the other hand. And we're pinching, and that's what's going to make this pretty crimping on the edges of our pie crust. Okay, so that's done. And then what I'll do is stick this in the freezer, cover it with saran wrap, and I'll make about 10 at a time. More if I've got a big order, or like before Thanksgiving, I do them ahead of time. I can put them in the freezer for 4 months. So I cover them with saran wrap, stack them up, and then put them into a freezer bag and stick them in the freezer, and they're great. So I hope that you learned something and that you'll try making your own homemade pie dough and make a delicious pie and enjoy. Thanks.